Yes, please. First, last name, affiliation. Thank you.
Casey Bartley, Boiler Upload. Matt, just off the court, have you seen Braden, Fletcher, and Trey just kind of grow as leaders, deal with the media all the time, everything that they've had to take over this year for this team?
Right. Well, I think your leadership and your responsibility, grows, especially with like who we lost, more than anything, just being accountable, like whether you're, on both ends of the court or off the court, just holding other people accountable. And so, the best way to lead is by example. I think all three of those guys lead in a different way, but they've all done a good job growing in that area.
Thanks, Coach. You're in the middle.
Dustin Schutte, Sports Illustrated, Purdue. Matt, it seemed, this could be my untrained eye, but it seems like the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe you've gone to the offense-defense substitutions a little bit more frequently, particularly with Wilberg and Trey Kaufman-Renn, maybe throw Caleb in there a little bit. Has that been more of the foul situation, game situation, or what do you like about Will coming in those situations? I guess what's kind of been the philosophy behind that?
Yeah, it's been Trey's foul trouble, and then it's also been a bigger center. So like last night, they just, that fit, right? And so like they had a bigger center, on High Point's team, and then Trey got, he gets that one foul early, which isn't foul trouble, right? But still to try to give him a little bit of a breather, and, you just don't know when the whistle comes, right? So I've done it before in the second half, and then we'll play 2.5, 3, straight minutes, and, you want him back in there quicker than that, but yeah, that's mainly the reasons.
Thanks, Coach. Right here in front.
Ralph Russo with The Athletic. Coach Brownell and some of the players for Clemson talked about how McNeese's defensive switching, they sort of threw a lot at them.
Yes.
And at times when they weren't expecting it, really threw them off. Now, I don't know if that's a card you can only play once, right? Once you show it, is it easier to prepare for it? But as you're preparing for them, what goes into all that they throw at you?
Right. Well, they switch all the time. So I think what was a little different in that game, they went to their 2-2-1 or their 1-2-2 zone press back to a 2-3, which matched up into a man at the end of the possession. I think that was what was a little bit different from that. But like anytime you think something's going to be your Achilles, and it's hard because you're trying to project when you do your schedule, and sometimes your schedule gets out a little bit. So, we have faced Alabama, we have faced Auburn, we faced Ole Miss. So we have faced some really good teams. I'm trying to think of the teams on top of my head that switch and do some different things. So you got to be able to kind of schedule towards something that you think might give you trouble. About 10, 12 years ago, we struggled against a press, and I thought it was more personnel based, but it still bothered us for about a couple years. And so we always we scheduled Huggy at West Virginia, and so going in there, we went 4 years in a row with just those open scrimmages, and that really helped us. So hopefully our experiences of going against it, and I think more people are switching, maybe not 5 ways, but definitely 4 ways. In college basketball now, you see it obviously in the NBA a lot, but it's not what they do, it's really how they do it and how hard they play and how they close down passing lanes and how they keep pursuing the basketball. A lot of times when you see somebody pressing, everybody thinks everybody's press is the same, when in reality it comes down to how much effort are you giving. McNeese gives a lot of effort. They play very, very hard. They don't give up on plays. They get a lot of deflections. They get a lot of steals. And you just got to do a good job of taking care of the basketball and then understanding how to go about it. When you drive, you have to drive to space. If you're gonna drive to where bodies are, they're gonna take the ball from you.
Thanks, Coach. You're in back.
Eric Rube with the Providence Journal. Coach, how do you counteract a double-digit seed when they have some of that momentum, some of that swagger coming in off an upset of their own? What do your guys have to do to kind of take control and maybe get some confidence of your own early?
Yeah, well, it really doesn't matter, what your seed is. They're a great team. Look at them like you're playing Auburn. Look at them like you're playing Michigan State. They have great players. They have a great coach. Like, they've obviously gained some steam here, and that's the narrative. But when the game starts, the game is still the game, and they play hard. So look at them for what they do and make sure you're selling that to your players about how quick they are, how athletic they are, how tough they are, how they get into gaps. And it's just like, making a clip tape, okay? Here's what works against them. Here's what does not work against them. Like do as much of this as you can and stay the hell away from this, because they've proven that they prey on that. You know, whether it's their extra effort, getting extra possessions on the glass, whether it's their pressing ability, whether it's their switching into their ball swipes. Like, they are very, very aggressive, but there's a method to their madness. They play very hard and they have rules to what they're doing. So just have that discipline and be able to stay with it, and then try to build that throughout the course of the game, because there's going to be mistakes made like there is in every game. Like, make sure we keep huddling, make sure we keep talking, and stay on the same page.
Thanks, Coach. Go ahead, Nicole.
Nicole Auerbach, NBC. Matt, you guys have seen some of these great mid-majors and low-major teams over the years. There's certainly a fearlessness in some of them. We didn't really blink collectively as 12/5 upset yesterday here. Is it as simple as the portal and immediate eligibility, or what do you attribute some of these talented teams, cohesive teams?
Well, if you look at like all the stops that their players have been to, if you just look at their team, like they have high major players on their team, and sometimes guys on their team that have never been to a high major are still high major caliber players. Like, if you're good, you're good. And they have a lot of really good players, but more than anything, they're connected. But I just think there's a lot of parity in college basketball. There's a lot of change in college basketball, and whoever can get enough guys then to be good together, because we see people that get into the portal and they have a lot of talent and then they underachieve. Well, it's hard to piece it all together in a short amount of time. But you see those coaches that do a better job than other coaches doing it, just because they have that discipline and they get them to buy into their system. And I think that's what he's been able to do here. Like, you see, you know, total buy-in, and they have that confidence, right? They have that swagger about them where they believe in each other and they believe that they're going to go out there and win. And why shouldn't you? And that's what I said about High Point. You win your league, you win your tournament, you win 14 straight games, you should be pretty confident. Well, these guys have the same resume. They've won 10 straight, but they've had the same amount of wins, and you know they're going to feel that way. You just got to be able to play to your strengths and then understand the difficulty that they cause people.
Thanks, Coach. Here to the left.
Hey, Coach. Kyle Hightower from the Associated Press. You guys are never going to fly under the radar with everything you've accomplished, obviously. But when you face a team like McNeese that's coming off a, quote-unquote upset, does it make it easier in the second round for you guys to prepare and kind of focus on you guys when all the attention, or a lot of the attention anyway, is going to be on them, and to kind of zone in and lock in on yourself?
Yeah, we stay process-based. Like, of being in the tournament, like, we've obviously had, really good wins in the NCAA tournament. We've had, some really tough losses. So we've been through a lot. A lot of times the tough losses that you have won't be the group that you have. It'll be 5-6 years before, and they don't feel that sting and understand that. Well, this group has. Our core players, our 3 leading scorers have been through, some tough losses. And so once last year, and obviously the national championship game the year before, and a 1-16 game. So, like, they've learned hard lessons. It doesn't mean it can't happen again, right? It can rear its ugly head, but it's still the game. Like, they understand that. Like, we didn't get beat by a 16 seed, and we didn't respect them. They beat us straight up. Like, the refs didn't, do us in. Like, we got beat, straight up, and that's a tough pill to swallow. But we had to sit in that, and we did something about it the next year. Even though we didn't end up winning the whole thing, we still did something about it. So kind of shows to the character of the guys that we have. But like, we know how good they are, and and that's what we do. We just try to stay. Hey, move to the next game. Like, the narrative can be the narrative. It doesn't matter. Like, move to the next game. Understand what we have to do to be successful.
Go ahead, Pat.
Hey, Matt. Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated. Kind of an X/No question. You said we're McNeese and other teams do it too. We'll start a possession zone and end it man.
Yeah.
How do you attack that? Do you start zone offense and then be ready to go to different actions when they go to man, or what's the approach?
No, we normally start with whatever we call we stay with. And I think that's what they're wanting to get, right? And then you also obviously have to be able to finish it. Everybody tries to run something, and then if you can't get something, like, how do you attack at the end of a clock? Then obviously we do a lot of things through Braden Smith and through a lot of our ball screen stuff. You just have to understand that no matter who's in the game for them, they're switching everything. And then you got to be able to attack it from there. But that's the whole part of pressing or picking the ball up, coming into a zone, going into a man. A lot of people in college basketball do it. Do they wait to the second wing pass? Do they wait to the third pass until they match? Does the ball go to the high post before they match? Everybody has their triggers when they match and go man to man. all right, if that's what they choose to do. So, like, you just have to understand when that happens, when it goes, if you don't have a shot by then. But putting a lot of time into it. If you just run your regular stuff all the time against something like that, you're going to get bogged down. And I think that's where you see with teams. But it's easier said than done because they will pick up on your pattern and they will pick up on your tendencies. So you got to change with them and mix up some different things and give different looks. So, like, you're being unpredictable towards their change.
Thanks, Coach. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt. Robbie Listella, Bracketeer.org. Obviously, you guys are led by Trey, Braden, and Fletcher, but how important is it for guys like Camden, CJ, Miles to fill their roles, and will that lead you guys to success in the rest of the tournament here?
Yeah, having depth is going to help you, and it's what I really talk about with guys that come off the bench. Like, there's times where you're not going to be able to get the same volume of shots every game. Like those guys will be able, Braden and Trey Kaufman especially, to where they're going to get a lot of usage. Sometimes the game, what it brings, Cam's going to get more opportunities or Miles is going to get more opportunities. But, you always can defend. You always can rebound. You always can change the game. Like Shakari Harris didn't play a whole lot in last night's game until the end, but he had 8 rebounds. He was just around the basketball. It just made sense for him to stay in there. Then it gave us an extra ball handler in the game. Miles Colvin was very active. I thought he did some really good things. Cam might have been the difference from an individual standpoint, getting a double-double, and they cross-matched just to start with. So they didn't put their center on Trey Kaufman-Wren, and they were able to do that the way we started. So when we went to Cam, they couldn't cross-match it. So we stayed with that, but we also stayed with it because he played so well in his effort. So our ability to rebound yesterday was the difference in the whole game in terms about where we just had so many more possessions than them. By getting 19 offensive rebounds.
We got time for 1 or 2 more here in the middle.
Dustin Schutte, Sports Illustrated, Purdue. Kind of following up on that, Will was a guy that started the season as a starter, basically, had stretches where he didn't play recently. Can you just talk about his ability to stay ready and kind of stay with it?
Yeah, Will's been very professional, and that's a hard thing to do. We went to Trey Kaufman, as the 5, really from an offensive standpoint, the way Braden and him can work short rolls and pocket passes, it really gives us an advantage and puts centers in tough spots. But it also takes away, we don't have rim protection, and we're not as big. And so, like, that's a little bit of the trade-off. And then somebody's normally going to be out there at that time, and it was him. And whether that's fair or not, that's the decision that we made. But he's been very professional. He's stayed with it. He's kept practicing hard. He's kept a good attitude. And when you do that and you get an opportunity, you normally play well. You get mad and you get frustrated and you sit there like, it's hard. That's just natural, kind of normal behavior. But, like, give him credit. Like, his number was called, and he really helped us.
Anything else out there? All right, we're all set. Thanks, Coach. Good luck tomorrow.
All right, thank you.